We are going to explore a key component of Montessori pedagogy, cosmic education, like I was saying. But first, I want to take just a few minutes to share a little bit more about me. For those of you who might be new, I do see lots of familiar names and faces, so this will be a review for a lot of you. So my name is Heather White. I'm a former Montessori classroom teacher, administrator, and in-home caregiver with more than 15 years of experience now in the world of Montessori. I currently work as an educational coach. I work in multiple roles with the Center for Guided Montessori Studies, including as their alumni conference, webinar, and professional development coordinator, as well as with their instructional guides, supporting as an instructional guide, supporting their adult learners who are working to receive their Montessori certification. I'm also delighted to share that I've recently accepted a position as an adjunct professor at Sarasota University, which is the only accredited institute of higher education dedicated solely to Montessori studies. In addition to all of that, I'm a blog writer and content creator for a few different organizations, including the American Montessori Society, Guide and Grow, and Mira's Toys. I hold credentials from the American Montessori Society at the 3 to 6 and 6 to 9 levels, and I also have experience with the 0 to 3 and 9 to 12 populations as well. I have a master's degree in education with a concentration in Montessori studies and an education specialist degree in school psychology. And I am also a nationally certified school psychologist. So during our time together today, we're going to start by talking about what cosmic education is. Because there is this idea that we have in our minds that I've kind of aided, if you will, with all of these pictures of the cosmos, right, of the universe. So let's really explore what Dr. Montessori meant by that term. And then we'll take a look at what cosmic education is at different levels in the early childhood classroom with children 3 to 6 years old, and then at the elementary level as well, what we might think of as first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade here in the United States. Then we'll take a look at what Maria Montessori described as our cosmic task that each of us has, and we'll review the many innumerable benefits of cosmic education as well. And then, as always, wrap things up with a look at some additional resources if you're interested in learning more. For those of you who have joined me in the past, you know that I love to begin with a quote just to kind of ground the work that we're doing and focus in on the topic of our presentation, provide us some inspiration. So in her book entitled To Educate the Human Potential, Maria Montessori said, "Let us give the child a vision of the whole universe. The universe is an imposing reality and an answer to all questions." So where we were talking just a moment ago about this idea of holistic education, right? An education that promotes the development and well-being of all elements of a child or of a human being, right? We're looking at not just academics, but also social and emotional well-being, cognitive well-being. This cosmic education is a way to help ground children, to really give them the answer to the questions that they're seeking, and ties in so naturally with that idea of holistic education. So like I said, cosmic education is really a hallmark or a cornerstone of Montessori philosophy. At its core, cosmic education aims to try to tell the story of the interconnectedness of all things on Earth. It tries to give students this comprehensive understanding of the universe and also their place within it. How do they relate to all the other living things that exist? How do we relate to them? How do they relate to plants and animals? And this method is really designed to inspire this sense of wonder, this sense of awe, helping children really see the big picture and start to understand how different elements of the world are interrelated so that they can see the role that they play and the role that other things play in supporting their development and also the well-being of other things on Earth as well. Dr. Maria Montessori thought that cosmic education was really vital to early education in particular, because she said that it provided children with a framework so that they could really start to understand how things work and their role so that they could start to make a difference. And that's where that cosmic task comes into play that we'll explore in just a few moments. So in Montessori schools around the world, the cosmic education curriculum covers very broad themes, such as things like the story of how the universe came to be, the story of the earth, of life on earth, of human history in particular. And these stories are designed to create that sense of awe and wonder we talked about the natural world and humanity's place within it. And from there, it branches into more detailed studies, right? So if we're thinking about talking about life on Earth, then we very naturally dive into a very deep study of botany and zoology, right? Some of our biological sciences. If we're talking about the Earth, we start to look at Earth space science, thinking about things like the solar system, where the Earth is located within it, different galaxies. For the Earth in particular, we're looking at the layers of the atmosphere, land and water forms. So all of these types of studies, anything that you might think of traditionally as history, as geography, all of the biology, all of those things fall under this umbrella that Maria Montessori identified as cosmic education. And the idea is not just to provide this academic knowledge about these concepts, but this profound understanding, like I've said, of the child's place in the world and their potential to contribute positively to it. Again, that's where that idea of the cosmic task that Maria Montessori developed comes into play that we'll discover momentarily. So then what does cosmic education look like in the classroom? We're going to start with the early childhood level. So in the US, when we say early childhood or primary in the Montessori world, some people call it the Casa dei Bambini or the children's house. All those names mean the same thing. We're thinking about children who are ages 3 to 6. So in a more public setting in the US, this would be pre-K and kindergarten. So at this level, cosmic education is really about introducing the child to the natural world through experiences with nature and through sensorial learning materials. There's this focus on sensory experience and practical life skills, which just a few weeks ago, we talked about practical life at the elementary level. And in the past, we've talked about practical life in general, but these opportunities for children to gain skills that aid in their independence, right? That help them become confident, capable, contributing members of their communities. That can be in their homes, their classrooms, and the greater world, their neighborhoods, right? All of those things. And so these sensory experiences and practical life skills are aimed at providing children with opportunities that they can refine their senses, right? They start to develop more well-tuned ability to hear different sounds, the ability to discriminate visually between different stimuli, and thus they discover how to more accurately process and understand the world that they live in. And these skills, like I said, aid the child's development and really build this confidence in themselves, but also in their society. So their classmates, their family members, their neighborhood community, and the entire world as a whole. It really lays the groundwork for helping them understand these larger concepts when they're ready cognitively, right? So they're not necessarily ready for a layer of abstraction that we might introduce or that this idea of the cosmos might imbue, right? That is appropriate for an elementary age child. An early childhood age child might not be ready for that, but we can lay a more concrete foundation preparing them for that, right? Creating this groundwork that prepares them for that learning later. So cosmic education at the early childhood level introduces students to different cultures, environments, and the impact of human activity. So some of the things they might do or see others doing in their community through things like books, stories, music, the arts, and it's through these hands-on sensorial experiences, practical life skills that the children start to gain a sense of what Maria Montessori called global citizenship, or this idea of their responsibility of how they relate to other things on earth, especially living things, and the role that they play, this positive impact that they can have. Cosmic education teaches the very young child that everything in the universe is interconnected. They start to learn how to take care of live plants and animals, maybe through plants that are in their classroom, gardens that they have on the school campus, classroom pets. A lot of Montessori classrooms have a variety of pets. There's things like fish, tortoises, bunnies. I've seen school dogs, hissing cockroaches, bearded dragons, you name it. It probably exists as a pet in a Montessori classroom. And this really helps children start to understand the roles that they play and how their actions impact the lives of others and of the environment as a whole. And with that understanding of this interconnectedness comes this sense of responsibility that we build on then at the elementary level when they're ready for that next level of abstraction. I wanted to give you a better idea and a visual representation of what cosmic education, or cultural education as it's sometimes referred to, looks like in an early childhood classroom. So I'm going to play a short video to give you a better visual example. And I'm going to stop my screen share for just a second and open it back up because I want to make sure that I checked the box to turn the sound on so that you all are able to hear the video as well. Okay.
In our classrooms, we do a lot with different cultures, and you'll see when you look in a Montessori classroom, very often we tend to attract different cultural groups as families as well as our teachers. Montessori appeals to people from many different cultures. Within our classrooms, we celebrate culture. We do so in many different ways, starting with the maps. The map activity is introducing this idea that there are other places in the world.
Nigeria. This is Miss Lola's country. She was born in Nigeria.
To even young children who can't make the abstract connection because this is still a two-dimensional representation of, for example, a continent. And you can't teach a child that until they're ready to understand it, but they can learn the name of it, they can learn the shape of it, they can learn to identify it. And so you're looking at Africa. In Africa, there are many different countries and many different people who live in Africa, and they have different things that they eat. What are some things that they eat? What's the temperature like in Africa? Is it very hot? Is it very cold? Depends on where you are. We have activities and baskets within each classroom that have objects that represent different cultures, photographs, pictures, all different, as many different ways as we can have, as many different senses as we can reach, to introduce children to these different concepts that are very abstract. And then also talking about the reality that many people in Africa will wear the same kinds of clothes that you and I wear, but they're traditional clothes look very different. And so we have a student teacher who's from Nigeria, and she brought the traditional wraps, the traditional dress from Nigeria, and she dressed several children. She brought versions of it that the children could wear, and they did a dance from Nigeria. She had special music she brought in things for them to taste, trying to help children to touch each of the five senses with anything that we're presenting, especially in a cultural context, because it's so visceral. To go to Nigeria would be the ideal. We can't go to Nigeria, so how can we bring Nigeria, this far away abstract concept, to this little classroom right here, because we have someone who can bring these experiences to us. And so it's fun to see the children then connecting, making that connection. Oh, this tastes like this tastes like couscous. I heard them saying about one of the things that she brought in for them to taste, and the fact that they know what couscous is. Somewhere along the line, whether it's at home or at school, they've had, again, another experience that helped them to be aware of different flavors in the world. But they make those connections, and they can relate, then they can understand that there are different places in the world that people do things differently. Another nice tie is that there are Montessori schools around the world. And so one of the questions that they asked Miss Damilola, the teacher who is from Nigeria, they asked her, do children go to Montessori school where you come from? And she said yes. And does their school look just like our school? And she said no, it looks a little bit different, but it has many of the same things. And so it's giving them this idea that things are different but the same, and things are different and the same. And how are they different and how are they the same? We need to look at our street and help the child go from really what's very concrete to them. Yes, our school. Our school is on a street. What's around our school? And then we're near Chicago, which is a much bigger city, and we're in the state of Illinois, and we keep going out and out and out and out. And so then we can get to, we're in the continent of North America, we're in the northern hemisphere. We can take it to many different levels, but really helping them to go from the very concrete to the very abstract in a natural progression of concepts done over time. You can't give all of that in one day. It's really a longer sequence that has to be done over the course of the entire school year even. But this idea that there are other people out there who live in other places who are doing different things and who do things different ways is really a sensitivity that will help them throughout their lives and throughout their experiences.
I go ahead and stop there. So you heard a lot of the things we've already been talking about, right? Giving children these concrete experiences that prepare them for more abstract learning at a later time. They talked about starting really close to home, something the child could really connect to, their street, their neighborhood, then expanding to maybe the county that they live in the US, and then the state, and then the country, and then the continent. And it's about helping them to have these really rich sensorial experiences, right? They talked about tapping into all of the different senses, something to eat, a fabric to feel, to wear, a dance that they could do, a way that they could move their bodies, so that they're able to connect to how things are the same and how things are different to what they're used to and their daily lives. And so that's just a look at what happens, like I said, very organically, very naturally, every single day in a Montessori early childhood classroom that then prepares children as they move on to the elementary level. And so cosmic education at this level is really powerful because it's particularly well suited for this age child. So we're talking about children ages 6 to 12, because at this point in their development, Dr. Maria Montessori recognized that children's interests turn outward towards wider social experiences. They start to move from very material, concrete levels of understanding towards the abstract, right? They're moving towards abstraction. And they really have this heightened interest in engagement and morality and moral development. If you were here several classes ago, we talked about sensitive periods. And sensitive periods are this time in a child's development that Maria Montessori identified where children have this heightened ability to gain some new skill or obtain new knowledge. And so at this level, at the elementary level, children are experiencing a couple different sensitive periods, or will go through at some point in those span of 6 years. Things like the desire to understand the world around them and their place within it, this obsession or attraction to morality and moral development and justice. Socialization is a big thing. They like to really take time to engage with their peers. This idea of moving towards abstraction, imagination, right? The imaginative experiences is really one of the key sensitive periods for the elementary age child. So you can see how this cosmic education really fits in so beautifully to those sensitive periods, those things that the elementary age child are so drawn to naturally. So in the elementary classroom, again, we're looking at an environment suited for children ages 6 to 12. Here in the US, that would be 1st through 6th grade. Cosmic education emphasizes this exploration of the universe and human progress through something that we call the Great Lessons. So the Great Lessons are a series of stories that really give this broad overview of how the universe came to be, how life on Earth came to be, human history, the development of different civilizations. And these stories are designed to spark curiosity and really serve as a foundation to inspire children to engage in more detailed studies where they're encouraged to ask big questions and to seek out knowledge, to investigate things that they want to learn more about that were just, the surface was just barely covered in these initial lessons. So for instance, to give you an idea, one of the great lessons is the story of writing. So, or the story of language. It has a couple different names that it's known by. But it's this idea of how spoken language and written language and the alphabet, right, came to be on Earth. And then that leads into all of the other studies that we do in the classroom where children are learning to read, to write. But it also might spark an interest in children investigating different types of writing. They might develop their own system of writing that they communicate in this code with the classmates, tying in that imaginative nature and the desire to socialize. So the great lessons really are just this building block that everything else that children are studying in the classroom are based upon or grow out of. And I think it's important to mention, I know this came up if you were at my last class, Dr. Lambert asked, did the idea of these great lessons or this cosmic education, was it was it a religious focus or was it more of a scientific focus? And I think it's important to say that although the lessons are more based on a scientific background, that it absolutely can be accommodating to religious perspectives as well. So I can share personally, I've had students of various religious backgrounds whose beliefs about evolution or how the universe came to be might be a little bit different than what was presented in the first great lesson, which is the story of the universe. And so what happens is we share with the children, this is one story, this is one idea of how the universe came to be. And your family, your community, your culture might have other stories, might have other ideas of how the universe came to be. And we want to hear those too. And so we invite the children to then share their own first great lesson, right? Their own story of the universe. Maybe they come up with these demonstrations and experiments, or maybe they tell this really beautiful story that engages their classmates. Maybe there's a book that they read to their classmates to share their perspective. But it's really about providing all of these different perspectives, much like we do at the early childhood level. But the idea at elementary then is to pique the curiosity of the elementary age child, to engage their sense of wonder, to engage that imaginative spirit, and really encourage them to dive deeper towards more levels of abstraction that they're ready for. The other thing that's important to know is that subjects aren't taught in isolation at the elementary level. Instead, all of the lessons are very interconnected, helping students to see the relationships that exist between different fields like science, history, geography, even the arts. Lessons emphasize themes of unity, interdependence, and the interconnectedness of all things, building on those concepts that were introduced in early childhood, which helps children continue to see and understand that everything in the universe is connected and dependent upon one another. Cosmic education also includes teaching children about ethics, responsibility, respect for all living things, further promoting that sense of morality and social responsibility that Maria Montessori called global citizenship, that started at the early childhood level as well. But as you can imagine, for children who are in this sensitive period at the elementary level, for socialization and justice and morality really starts to click in and make a little bit more sense for them and harness a little bit more meaning. And their book titled Children of the Universe, Montessorians Michael and Danielle Duffy, I apologize. Michael Dorer is a famous storyteller who has lots of wonderful things to share about cosmic education as well. but Children of the Universe is written by Michael and Danielle Duffy. And they sum up the purpose of cosmic education really wonderfully, in my opinion. They say, this 6-year Montessori experience gives elementary students opportunities to appreciate their roots in the universe, to sense their place in its context, and to embrace the role this defines for their lives. So in this way, Dr. Maria Montessori believed that cosmic education prepared children to enter the next phase of their development, adolescence, as really independent, socially responsible, emotionally intelligent human beings. She believed that these cosmic education studies help children understand who they are as individuals, who they are as members of the human race, and as citizens of the entire universe. She thought it really provided them with this deep understanding of their moral responsibility to address global issues that affect all of humankind and the environment, helping them accept what she referred to as their cosmic task. And before we look at the cosmic task and what that is, because we've referenced it a few times now, again, I wanted to give you a really wonderful visual representation of what cosmic education looks like at the elementary level. This video is a little bit longer, so we're just going to play a portion of it just to give you an idea again, because I think it's really wonderful to be able to see these ideas come to fruition or in action, if you will.
Same combination in a closed container can create a dangerous explosion.
Oh, it started in the middle, I apologize. Let's go back to the beginning.
The Montessori Great Lessons are the way that we strike the child's imagination in the elementary Montessori curriculum. This episode will be the first in some overview episodes to set up the current school year. This segment is from a voiceover narrated portion of a demonstration. The sound was so bad because the Great Lesson was done outside that it does have voiceover narration, but I think it will give you a flavor for the Great Lessons and help you understand how they can strike the imagination and help the children want to do their research.
One other vital piece is giving presentations that excite the children's imagination and help them begin to ask the questions that are essential to child-driven research work, which is the core of Montessori elementary education. To give you a taste of that type of lesson, here are a few segments from a presentation of the first great lesson of the Montessori elementary curriculum, The Creation of the Earth, or the Story of God Who Has No Hands. This presentation is given in the tradition of the great storytellers and is helped along with several brief scientific experiment demonstrations that illustrate key points about the physical creation of the earth and the universe, as well as the nature of matter and laws of nature. Besides giving the children a sense of the scope and scale of creation, this presentation can also include the role of God or a higher power in this process. If only one religion is represented in a classroom, the story may be told from that view. If, as is usually the case, this is not true, then the first great lesson is also an opportunity to acknowledge the role of the Supreme Being while showing respect for the many different belief systems regarding the nature of God. This next segment shows how the use of demonstrations can enhance the telling of the story. While the story is being told, these demonstrations can add drama and stimulate excitement about these events that took place so long ago. These elements are a purposeful part of the experience added so that this brief introduction can generate as much curiosity as possible. This curiosity will drive the research that is the main activity of study during the elementary years. The creation of the universe is represented by popping a black or dark-colored balloon that has been filled with confetti. The balloon before popping represents the vast, dark, cold emptiness that was present before the universe sprang into being. After explaining this great event, a candle can be used to represent the newly created unstable gaseous elements of the new universe. A large bowl of water and the confetti bits can be used to illustrate that it is the nature of particles to be attracted to some types of particles and repelled by others. In addition to demonstrating the nature of particles, this presentation includes demonstrations that illustrate the three states of matter: gas, liquid, and solid, and their relationship to one another. The quality of liquid particles holding together loosely is shown with a jar of BBs or tiny pebbles that can be pushed apart with a finger. The quality of solids holding firmly together, so firmly that they break if they have to be separated, is shown with a broken rock. Gas is represented with a slightly disguised can of air freshener. The children also learn that solids are the most heavy and so tend to sink if mixed with liquids or gases, and they learn that liquids rise above or float above the solids, and that gases rise up and are not subject to gravity very much at all. These qualities and how they influence the formation of the layers of the earth are shown in concrete form by pouring water, light oil that floats to the top, and heavy honey that sinks to the bottom into a glass or test tube. A globe model that opens to show the layers is also helpful to make this point with the most clarity.
I'm going to go ahead and stop there. So that was just a little glimpse at what the first grade lesson looks like. So you can see as the narrator was describing, there are different experiments, different demonstrations, like the popping of a balloon with confetti or glitter to demonstrate what some might call the Big Bang. You might use a candle to demonstrate the light from the sun. Things like gravity are shown in experimental form, the states of matter, like she was describing. And this is just the first great lesson. There are others that follow. The second is the coming of life, which is an exploration of the very beginning of life on Earth to present day. There's this beautiful timeline that stretches out, usually the expanses from one side of a classroom to another, looking at the main life forms on Earth that the children can investigate all the way up to present day. The third is the coming of humans. It really takes a look at the last piece of that timeline of when humans started living on Earth and what that development has looked like. And it talks about the unique gifts that we have as humans that set us apart from other living beings, our hearts, our hands, and our ability, our hearts, our ability to love, our hands, our ability to make things and do things, and our minds, our brains, our ability to learn and think a little bit differently. And then there's the story of language and the story of math or numbers. And there's these demonstrations, these active experiences that the children partake in, not only during the lesson, but that are available afterwards to them that they can continue exploring, which, as I was saying, is intended to really spark this sense of wonder, this sense of awe, get them asking questions and interested in learning more so that they're able to really start to ponder what their cosmic task might be. So we've referred to this a few times now, but in Montessori education, the concept of a cosmic task is really integral. It's the idea that every individual and element in the universe has a unique role and purpose that contributes to the harmony and functioning of the whole. This was something that Maria Montessori developed, and I think it's really powerful to share with children because it really, and with adults also, right? It really helps us to understand that we all serve a purpose. We're all really important. We all have this immense power to help and to make the world a better place. And we each have a unique way that we can go about doing that. And it's about helping children understand what their unique way is, what their unique cosmic task is. So students are encouraged to discover their unique talents and contributions to the world. The idea is that everyone has an individual cosmic task and a unique role to play. And children start to understand that their actions and existence really have this significance and start to see how their actions and existence can positively impact others and the world around them. It helps them develop a sense of purpose, belonging, right? A sense of community, Responsibility as well goes back to that idea of global citizenship we talked about a few times, and really fosters a child's growth into a thoughtful, conscientious individual who recognizes the importance of their contributions to the world. And the idea, Maria Montessori talked a lot about creating a peaceful world, and really protecting the beauty of the earth around us. And so if we all embrace our cosmic task, she believed that was kind of the path that would lead us to this sense of peace and to this more respectful way of living with all of the other life on our planet. So now that we've explored what cosmic education is, we have this understanding. I think it's important to talk about why it's important. What are the benefits of introducing and embracing cosmic education? The first is that students gain a really comprehensive understanding of the universe, life, human progress, right? It gives them this really deep knowledge that often doesn't come, at least in the US, until students enter high school, maybe even college, and get to do these deep dives into topics that they're interested in, which then also really nurtures this lifelong love of learning and this deep sense of curiosity, where children are able to explore these questions that they have and these topics they're interested in much earlier, at a time that aligns with their sensitive periods for things like socialization, justice and morality, understanding the world and their place within it. Children are also encouraged to find their own unique contributions, right? Embracing their cosmic task, which promotes this sense of self-confidence, a sense of purpose, that sense of belonging we talked about. That's certainly a huge benefit, especially in today's society, where it can be really challenging for children to find their place amongst their peers. The cosmic education also helps students develop an awareness of global issues and to embrace that sense of responsibility towards the planet and its inhabitants, really working to try to address some of these challenges and concerns that face us as a global entity. The interconnected nature of the cosmic education curriculum also fosters a sense of critical thinking and the ability to see connections and relationships between different concepts and ideas, which carries outside of the classroom and is a really powerful skill as children become adults, something we use on almost a daily basis. And then Dr. Maria Montessori believed that cosmic education was really, like I was saying just a few moments ago, a way to restore peace, harmony, and order. She described it as a way to allow us as humankind to realize our true potential. And so by providing children with cosmic education, Montessori pedagogy really empowers students to embrace this knowledge to be able to transform the world. And I think that's probably the largest benefit, is the power of this curriculum, or what can be thought of as really just different studies introduced in the classroom, that inspires and can evoke such powerful change in the world over, and not just in an individual classroom or an individual neighborhood or individual school, right? It really is this magnanimous change that can come about. As I typically like to do, I wanted to leave you with some resources if you're interested in learning more about cosmic education. The first book there is one I referenced during the presentation. It's called Children of the Universe. It's by Michael and Danielle Duffy. It explains Maria Montessori's overall plan for the elementary curriculum, for the elementary concept of cosmic education. The next here is an article written by Camillo Grazzini entitled Maria Montessori's Cosmic Vision, Cosmic Plan, and Cosmic Education, which is a short overview of these main ideas that were developed by Maria Montessori. And it was written by the North American, or published by the North American Montessori Teachers Association in their journal from 2013. The third and fourth books here are written by Susan Macklin Stevenson, who is a wonderful Montessori author. The third book here is entitled Montessori Cosmic Education, The Child's Discovery of a Global Vision and a Cosmic Task. It's a practical view of cosmic education with examples about how children grow into this understanding of cosmic education through their experiences at home and at school. And then the last one is called the Red Corolla, Montessori Cosmic Education Introduction for ages 3 to 6. And this covers the areas of the curriculum introduced to the young child, those 3 to 6-year-olds that we started with, demonstrating those sensorial, practical life lessons and experiences that prepare children for the exploration of cosmic education at the elementary level. And if you keep an eye out, sometimes these books by Susan Macklin Stevenson, she does a little gift to the community, and you can actually find them for a free download, either on her website or even from Amazon, like a Kindle version or an e-reader version. So something to keep in mind and keep an eye out for as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention places where you could learn about cosmic education from the source, right? Straight from the source, from Maria Montessori herself, right from in her writings. So if you're looking for information to come of what Maria Montessori actually said about cosmic education, you can find quite a lot in her book titled To Educate the Human Potential. But she also introduces and describes this idea of the cosmic plan or the cosmic task that we spoke about as well in her book, What You Should Know About Your Child, which was aimed more towards parents. And to wrap things up, another quote, just to end our time together today and give some more inspiration. Dr. Maria Montessori once said, "All things are part of the universe and are connected to each other to form one whole unity." So cosmic education really is the foundation for all learning in the Montessori classroom, but really all learning in general, and even for life, one might say. By helping children understand these ideas, they start to embrace and recognize the importance of the interdependence of all things, allowing them to really find their place in the world and to become global citizens. People who Maria Montessori described demonstrate kindness and compassion for the earth and for all life upon it. In the Duffy's words, cosmic education teaches children to recognize the fundamental needs we all share and to respect the cultural differences by which we meet those fundamental needs. Such an education can lead us to a future of true peace, such as that sought by Maria Montessori. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, whether it was your first class with me or you've come back for many, as I know some of you have. My contact information is here once again. If you have any questions after today's presentation, you can send me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn. And I also have my social media handle at montessori.matters, as well as my website listed there, where I share education and parenting, Montessori, and other related content that hopefully you'll find helpful. So I encourage you to reach out and follow along.